It's Game 3 of the RoughRiders series against the Corpus Christi Hooks, and today we're joined by Hooks interim pitching coach and special assistant to the general manager for the Houston Astros, Doug Brocail. Doug, last couple of years you were up at the big league level as the pitching coach. Now you're down here at the minor league level. How do you like coaching some of these minor leaguers and watching the development part of the game?
I like coming down here. You know, when Gary got sick, obviously I volunteered to fill in, but it was one of those things that I didn't know what to expect. I never coached in the minor leagues. I went straight from being Ed's assistant right into the role, and I loved it. I didn't think that I was going to like coaching, but after the first game that I coached, I loved it, and I got down here, and a little less pressure down here. The kids work and have a ton of questions, and you try to answer those questions and make them feel like they're, when they get on the mound, you have to make sure that they're confident and they're poised, and it's just basically a lot of psychology. Once the game starts, I'm basically a psychologist, and you have to make your mound visits and make sure that these kids trust in what they're hearing and believe in the pitches, and you have quotas you have to make. You have to throw so many changeups, and that's part of player development. The player development side of it is nice because the kids, as they're learning, it comes with distrust, and you're trying to get them to trust what they're trying to feel. And it's a great learning experience both for me and for them.
Would you say the biggest difference between coaching guys up at the big league level and at the minor league level is that psychology part? Is it maybe more mechanical up there, or is there really not much of a difference? It's just how you maybe reach some guys who haven't been able to fulfill that potential yet?
Basically down here, it's a ton of psychology mixed with a bunch of delivery issues. I'm not big on talking mechanics because when you use the word mechanics with the kids down here, they kind of freak out. But so I talk delivery, and if I can get them to trust what they're trying to feel in their delivery, then things go a lot easier. But, it's simple stuff. Down here, you don't have to talk as much mechanics in the big leagues because guys have been in the minor leagues. They've gone through it. You get up there, and, it's basically you're just trying to fine-tune. Here, we're not just fine-tuning. We're trying to change some things or fix some problems in the delivery that might be so easy to fix from my end, from your end, from the fans' end. They say, oh, well, why doesn't he do this? Well, he has to feel it to be able to do it. And that's where it takes time. And, we're in the minor leagues. We tell these kids every day, make your mistakes down here so that when you get to the big leagues, we don't make the mental and the physical mistakes as you do down here. So, I love it down here. I love preaching and teaching and everything that goes along with minor league coaching.
I think without a doubt the most impressive pitcher on your staff this year has been the big lefty Tommy Shirley. What has made him so effective and has allowed him to make this big step forward at the highest level he's ever pitched at?
Tommy, we joke a lot about having, everybody that's seen the cartoon where Bugs Bunny's pitching, the ball cuts, dips, drops, rises. Tommy, we joke about Tommy having a Bugs Bunny fastball. He has a fastball that cuts one time, and Tommy doesn't try to make the ball cut. So what happens is sometimes wrist gets out of position, the ball cuts completely across the plate. Sometimes it sinks, sometimes it stays straight. And when he's throwing, he throws his fastball anywhere from 87 to 94, and Tommy didn't have a secondary pitch. So we found a changeup that's usable. And now that it's usable, he threw 20 of them in his last start. So he's learning that even if it's not a strike, it helps with the fastball the next pitch. And that's what he's done lately is he's been bouncing the changeup and then throwing the fastball middle and blowing the ball by guys. He actually has a curveball that's usable. I think he threw 14 the other day, and it wasn't remarkable, but finally all of them had depth versus probably 1 inch of drop and 7 miles an hour off versus now it's 15 to 20 miles an hour off. It's got bigger break. It's got depth, and it's just a learning experience for Tommy. But he's had a lot of success early, and this kid works. He threw a bullpen today, and he throws everything full bore so that when he gets in a game, he doesn't have to search.
We're here with Doug Brocail, interim pitching coach for the Corpus Christi Hooks. Doug, last year the tandem starting system worked so well throughout the minor league system for the Astros, and probably because everybody stayed healthy. We saw it last year. It worked like clockwork. Somebody would come in, throw 5 innings, give up maybe one or two runs, and then somebody would come in, pick up the save, pretty much just like what we saw last night. This year, so many injuries have come about. What has been the challenging part for you and the organization to kind of change on the fly? That's what it seems like you guys are doing, while also still accomplishing a lot of the developmental goals that have been set out by the front office.
Well, the nice thing about it is, we have 9, sometimes 8, sometimes 9 starters. And with the new system, I mean, every year at one point we back off from the 2, 2, 2, and 2. So we had 8 starters. Guy goes 5, guy goes 4, you mix in your relief, kind of in between the guy. So say a guy struggles and at 4 2/3 he can't get through it, we bring in the reliever, get the next guy ready to go, and then if he makes it through 4, we only use the 3 guys. Last night we only used the 2 guys, and we were good with that. Now what we're doing is we kind of separated it to where 2 guys will piggyback, 2 guys will have their own game, 2 more guys will piggyback. And what it does is it allows guys to learn how to pitch at the rear end of the ball game, to be able to come into a game now. Because right now what we're doing is if a guy gets in trouble, I'll have my starter ready. So he'll come in to a jam and learn how to get out of that jam and then have his own free inning and carry on through the game. It's been good for us. It really has. And guys are really stepping up to the plate, learning how to become a starter, because every other time they get to start. Every other time they get to go to the pen and they get to learn how to pitch in the rear end of that bullpen. Not everybody makes it to the big leagues as a starter. Most guys that are starters make it to the big leagues as a bullpen guy, sometimes a line guy if you're a starter, and it just teaches them how to fine-tune their roles.
Do you foresee the piggybacking or tandem starter system continuing the way it has been maybe over the last month or so next year, or would it go back to the more standard, okay, this guy starts, then the next time he comes in relief, this time he starts, versus what you guys have now?
I don't know. I think what's going to happen is we're going to look at it over the winter and see which one had more success, and we'll build from there.
That makes sense. Let me ask you about Mark Appel, the top overall draft pick last year. A little bit of a rocky start to this season, certainly in Lancaster. Had some health issues in spring training as well in the first month of this season. What are the Astros trying to do to try and make sure that this really isn't a lost season for him?
I think what we're going to see is he's going to get a few more starts, probably 3 or 4 starts down in Single A, and hopefully work his way here. When he gets here, we're going to continue to build. I really haven't had any time to travel. I've been here the whole year except for a week. When Gary came back, I went home, and then Gary had a little relapse. But I really, it's hard for me to say because I don't have video of the kids yet. And the thing is when I don't have video or I haven't seen them live, it's hard for me to give my opinion on anybody. So I'm going on word of mouth. I'm going on reports. But it shouldn't be that long, and it shouldn't be that hard for him to recover from this and continue the rest of the season full bore and get his innings and try to pick up where he left off from his college season and right after the draft last year.
Looking at your career, there was a 6-year gap from the time that you were drafted, very high draft pick, between then and the time that you made the big leagues. You had some arm injury issues. Can you relate a little bit to maybe some of the issues that Mark has had, being a guy with high expectations and not succeeding right away, or at least not getting to the point where a lot of people expected him to be right away?
Absolutely. I spent 7.5 years in the minor leagues, and when I guess that's a character building time, but it took me a while. I was an outfielder in college. I was an outfielder in high school. I did pitch a little bit in high school, and I think I threw 1 game in college. But to go from where I was at to where I ended my career, I wish I never would have started. Anybody that's ever looked at my numbers or sat back and watched me pitch as a starter probably would tell you that, this kid never needed to start a day in his life. Finally, I got put in the bullpen, and I found my niche. And, it was one of those things where I was lucky enough to have a manager that saw that. Buddy Bell called me and he says, listen, I know we made you opening day starter, but there's no way in hell you're going to start ever again as long as I have anything to do with baseball. And, he told me to go out and be a psycho idiot for an inning, and it worked out, thank God.
Finally, Doug, you did spend a couple of years with the Rangers. A lot of folks back in our neck of the woods are going to be tuning in. Do you have fond memories of your 2 seasons in Arlington?
You know what? We had a good team both years I was there. I think the part that I remember the most is we were doing so well going into the last month, and then we just hit a wall. And when we started losing ball games, it was almost like we couldn't keep our head above water. But we had some good teams. Mikey Young, Kenny Rogers. Those 2 guys led the team. Kenny being the starter, and Mikey being the infielder. Every at bat, I think he got a hit. It was unbelievable. But I loved it up there. I loved the stadium. I did get to pitch for the team. I guess I made a rehab start right across the way, and I think I threw 4 2/3, got ejected. And, it was one of those things. Kinsler was a kid. He got hit after a home run. So, being a big leaguer and protecting my teammates, I think a ball got away. But I enjoyed it up there. 2 beautiful stadiums. The area is great up there. I love Dallas. I love the Fort Worth area. So, I have good memories from up there. And I think my kids loved it up there. So, it's just part of, as you grow older, it's things that I'll never forget. And I had a great time when I pitched for Texas.
Well, Doug, we really appreciate the time. I want to wish best of luck to you and to the Hooks here in the second half of the season, and we look forward to catching up again soon. Thanks so much.
Good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Doug Brocail, the interim pitching coach for the Corpus Christi Hooks and special assistant to the front office for the Houston Astros. We're back right after this here on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.